Tony Fadell, how you doing?
Aaron, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Robbie, it's been too long.
Absolutely.
We start each session off with a handshake, so
Just one.
just one handshake.
We'll do it at the end, too.
We can close with a handshake too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No hugs.
We can
hug
hug
if you want.
anything.
I prefer them.
Okay.
It's been a bad day.
Oh, I say more or not? Okay.
Lawyers, you know, when you got to deal with lawyers all day.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so so what we're talking about with the industrialist dilemma is what changes when we move from an industrial world to a digital one, and how should industrialists respond, and how are disruptive companies and technologies sort of forcing them to kind of sort of bear this new reality. So I think maybe just to back up though, it would be great if you want to give like the founding story of Nest. I mean, you obviously have a pretty incredible background. Maybe if you want to weave any of that in terms of how you led to Nest, and just to level set the conversation.
Okay, sure. So, you know, Nest was kind of born out of 20 years of experience, more than 20 years of experience I've had in Silicon Valley and around doing technology around the world. And, you know, there was a lot of lessons that I learned leading up to starting Nest, because I had other startup companies before then that some utterly failed miserably. Okay. I also had startup divisions of major corporations, 400,000 people. I was like reporting the CEO, building, like what Honeywell might be building, or who knows what competitors trying to build underneath it. So I've been in the big company world and the small company world for over 20 years and seen all kinds of different angles and failed a lot. So going into Nest, I wanted to take all those learnings and apply them and understand, when do you shift the market, when do you get bought, all those different things. So bring that to bear. So Nest really just was born out of my frustration that over 10 years I was trying to get a thermostat just to heat and cool my place up in Tahoe, and remotely, because we'd go up there and it would take 6 hours to warm up and we're all freezing, and then we had kids and they didn't like that at all. So that was just how it started. It started from, I saw the iPhone coming. We were in development of the iPhone. I was building this house in Tahoe, and I'm like, wait a second. The world is going to dramatically change. The control of the world is going to be in your hand at all times. Everything in your world. So how is a home going to change? And so I wanted to make it the most green, most connected home possible. And that is where, going through every single piece of designing the house and understanding every mechanical system, electrical system, I said, that's a problem, that's a problem. And we created a whole list of all the problems that I saw. And during that 4 years of design and development, I kept looking for new things, new products from those same things. And most of them, some things like refrigerators and dishwashers, they got better. But things like thermostats, smoke detectors, various other things, we're not getting any better. They were just commodity-based products. And so I was like, why is this? So I started designing my own, and I was like, wait a second, there's so much better ways of doing this. They were trying to basically put calendars on it and photos on the thermostat, but they never made a beta thermostat. They just wanted to raise the price of the thermostat, but it didn't make it better or easier to use. So fast forward, I said, okay, here's a nice, interesting product we could build. I was like, I know the team, I know the technology, and then I'm like, who could build this? So I looked at all the incumbents, and none of them had the requisite technology, as you said, all of these different functions, and especially not consumer marketing and not consumer retail, right? So it wasn't just about technology. It was about all the other things of go-to-market to actually be able to talk to the consumer, because no one cares about thermostats today. Guess what? A lot of things people didn't care about before. But until you market it, and you market it right, and you make it attractive, and you make a real great value proposition, that's when the world wakes up and goes, wait a second, I've been duped all these years. I want to actually have the choice. I don't want to tell what this installer guy, Mr. Buttcrack, like.
Yeah, we're going to bleep that. Yep.
Yeah. Is going to, he says, put this one on the wall. And that thing on the wall is like a $49 unit. He sells it to you for $250. He won't tell you what it is because all the SKUs are different. You can't compare them. So the Honeywells of the world were designing their products for the installers, not the consumers. They were marketing them to the installers, not the consumers. They were making them the cheapest things possible, the most technical features possible, and they forgot all about the users. And that was kind of the insight there was, I have a problem, I can't get better ones. Why is that? The technology is changing dramatically. They don't have the capability, and they don't have the communications plan to be able to tell the world about it. I was like, and then wait a second, how big's the business? Oh, 12 million units are sold a year in the US alone just to residences. That's more than video game systems. That's more than most stoves, ovens, refrigerators. I was like, wait a second. Oh, and by the way, 50% of your energy bill is controlled by it.
Do you know how much it compares like toilets or anything?
Yeah, it's because toilets most people don't buy, change them out.
Yeah,
so
it's
a very, very low, very low thing. So, but yeah, so that was the whole thing. So looking at the marketing, looking at the channels, looking at the technology.
How soon did you realize that the direct to consumer was like this advantage that was almost kind of impenetrable?
It was not about direct consumer. It was direct to consumer marketing, but fulfilled by a channel. And yes, there was a direct component from Nest.com that we'd sell.
Right.
But what all of these connected products are, and Kickstarter things you're finding out is, you must have retail. You can't just go direct. If you go direct, you're going to get killed. Unless the people really know what they want for price or whatever, like you're buying a freaking iPhone cable or something, not a problem. But if you're trying to communicate to people, especially in the home, you need to interrupt them where they shop. And they don't usually you can't interrupt them online. They need to learn about it. We're educating them. There's a better way. And you need to do it where they go and they touch things. And they can learn about it. And so we had to have retail. We only started with 3 stores when we got going. But the results, the money just kept flowing in. And then it was now we have like 15,000 points of distribution, physical distribution, plus Amazon, plus our own e-tail stuff.
So that actually, you basically just made our last session obsolete, which was the end of retail. So
you need retail. Now it might be showrooming,
yes,
but you need to have something where people will touch it. It is not going to go away.
So Ron, do you agree with Ron Johnson on his philosophies of retail?
You mean enjoy or retail?
Retail.
Yeah, on retails, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So where are you at in terms of going down that list of things that you want to digitize and disrupt? I mean, you mentioned 2 products that you had identified when you're building your house, and then you sort of stopped short of telling us of any other products that you...
Well, we have 3 products now in the product family, and look, if you look at SKUs and all the stuff we do for various countries, we have about 20 SKUs. So it's actually, it might seem like it's a little bit, but there's actually a lot to meet for regions. But remember, our business model is not just sell hardware at a profit, okay? And it's also not selling data, okay? Our products are all about full feedback loops between control and data to inform control and back to data. So we are connected sensors business. We have a sensor, we have control, and we have a connectivity to get the data in and out, and new software updates. That's what we really are in, okay? So first, it all starts with a really great product. People don't buy platforms. People buy products. Before, yes, there was Windows 95 and all that other stuff, people bought that. Today, no one buys platforms. Typically, not even corporates. A lot of new corporates, startups and stuff. They buy services, they buy products. So you have to start with a great product. But a great product isn't enough. You don't want to end up like a Samsung, which is, I got to just keep selling you new hardware. Because guess what? I'm not going to sell you a new thermostat every 18 months like you can a smartphone. It's going to be there for 10 to 12 years. That's on average, right? Smoke detectors, 7 to 10 years. You got to figure out how to monetize those things once they're in the home, and that's with services. And that's services both from enterprises that can pay, like utility companies or insurance companies, or consumers to pay. So if you look at it, it's modeled after the iPod model, which is sell a great piece of hardware, have great apps and services around it, and get them to build into the ecosystem, to buy into the ecosystem. Start with a great product, buy more services, buy more products, buy more services, and it goes around the horn like that. That's the way it's designed, as an ecosystem. And have third parties bond in to make that ecosystem even more substantial.
So Tony, as you're building a company where you've got these software competencies, these hardware competencies, data competencies, how do you as a leader attract the kind of people to come in, and how do you have these various functions and groups work together or not work together to deliver the best product to customers?
Well, the thing is, we're still in the very early stages of this. So because there's still so many standards that haven't been, you hear about these things, feel like there's incompatibilities, data incompatibilities, wireless incompatibilities, all kinds of other things. So our goal first and foremost is we just tell them about our mission. One about the thoughtful home, one about saving energy, one about saving lives, keeping people safe and secure. People are like, employees are like, I want that. They don't want to go and do, Pavlov's dog, make it like, a slot machine in Vegas. Oh, I'm going to just keep clicking and keep giving you money. A lot of people were, jaded by that, and they didn't want to go work for companies like that. So a big thing is our mission, and that was before we were part of Alphabet/Google. People just want to join for what we were trying to do. And that continues to this day. It continues today, and now they want more on the design front. They can see that we're doing a whole end-to-end design that includes marketing, retail, all of those pieces, and they want to really live in it, and it's still small, so they can touch all of the different functions. They can learn about the different functions and get a real working knowledge for how these kinds of companies work, because there's very few of these full ecosystem-like companies that are small that you can learn about.
There's been a bit of a trend recently in the Valley, which is because you can use contract manufacturing and because we're certainly probably all in agreement that hardware and software, the combination is more kind of potent, that Silicon Valley becomes the center of a lot of the new hardware disruption. What do you think Silicon Valley gets wrong about starting hardware companies? What is still hard about the industrial world when you think about building kind of hard technology? And do you think that the Honeywells of the world, are those competencies, useful enough that they can get into software fast enough, or is that still not relevant for them to be able to leverage?
Most of the software engineers and where they get their software is from Bosch, from all of these third parties. Most of that stuff comes from a third-party supplier. They outsourced all this stuff over the years. They got rid of it, and now they procured it like, oh, it's just a system here, and it's just a system here. But that's not what it means to make a new experience. You can't buy it from a third party.
If we sort of had to force you to, though, fix a Honeywell or
How would I do
a Chrysler, I mean, can it be done?
Sure.
Okay. And what would you leverage in that process? What of the strengths of those companies, or at least the good parts of that DNA, would you take advantage of?
Well, first, you need to create a new division, and it needs to report directly to the CEO. I've done this 3 times, so I've been through this. It has to report directly to the CEO. You must have air cover. The antibodies always set in. No one likes the up-and-coming upstart that is going to prove these other things wrong. The CEO wants to prove all of these different divisions that they're wrong. They don't know what they're doing. So you must have CEO coverage at all times. And hopefully, it's a CEO that's going to be there more than 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. Because these are long-term visions. These are long-term cultural things. You are going to break the culture. You're going to have a different set of incentives for those people who to join because of the risk involved. Okay? You're going to have different culture, policies, everything. We did this at Philips. We did it at Apple even. We did it at Apple with iPod. And then the certain key lieutenants have to be told by the CEO, this is it. This is my pet project. No one's touching it. And this is what I was told, is if anyone gets in your way, give me a call right away. And what would happen is the CEO would then call one person or 2 people who got in the way, and that quickly got around because they got their heads chopped off. And that was like, a freight train's coming. Everybody in the organization outside of the division in the organization said, if this guy comes to you or this team comes to you, give them what they want because you don't want to be standing in the way. You have to have that kind of air cover. If you don't, the antibodies will set in. You guys have been you've seen it at Intel, you've seen it in different places, right?
Does that person make friends in that organization, or you just give up on friendship?
Oh no,
Okay.
It's lonely at the top, man.
Okay.
It's lonely at the top.
Okay.
You just go.
Okay.
And you just, Jeff Williams, I remember the first meeting I had with Jeff Williams, and back then he was a VP or whatever, and I was a consultant. I was a consultant at Apple. And I love Jeff, so don't get me wrong, he's now COO. Congratulations to him. But I didn't even know who he was. It's like, you're going to be doing this for me. And he's like, who's this guy talking to me like that? I was like, yeah, you're just going to do it. You just had to own it and go, get on board or get out of the way. Because if you're in the way, I'm going to call someone and smash your head in. So watch out. The axe is coming.
That's a lot of violent metaphors.
Look, I'm no bullshit, man. No bullshit.
No, makes sense. Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do
actually.
And that includes marketing and sales and all kinds of other things. That's a real problem.
Is there anybody whose head doesn't need to be smashed in?
You need to do a couple of them.
Okay, got it.
And then that changes the corporate
It's kind of like
culture.
putting the head on the post so everyone can see it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everyone has to know that this is incredibly important to the company in the future.
So one of the readings we did for today was about corporate venture capital.
Yep.
And Google was an investor in Nest, correct?
Yeah, Google was.
Okay,
Yeah,
and so-
second
and so-
round. Second
Right. And so
Third round.
as you look at the organization, how did that relationship develop, as they become an investor, and how you want to kind of stay on your journey and having you have a corporate investor, but you want to build the organization the way you want. How did that information flow back and forth that ultimately they decide, hey, we think we want to acquire this asset? What was that like for you as the CEO of the business? Were you worried about them trying to suck information out that they might do something
I was
competitive?
worried because they had Android at home at time and these other things. But I also think about VCs, and many VCs have conflicting investments. If you look at some VCs, the larger ones, they actually have investments that will compete against each other. So I thought of it more like that. I also knew kind of where the Android at home team was, and I kind of, you're in the valley long enough, you get the whispers and understand what's happening or not happening at a certain firm or team. So it was really about, are they really supportive of the business? Are they going to really lean in? Are they going to be able to help? This was very clean, incredibly clean. It looked like any VC deal you'd see on Sand Hill Road. And they were incredibly supportive. So I was not, of course you have some worry about it. But as we went down the road, more and more trust was built up. And then when it came time for our next round, we were raising the round, and then Google said, well, are you sure you don't want to do it with us instead? Here's all the other things we can offer you besides money.
So I asked the two-part question originally, and we went more to the second part. So on the first part, though, what do you see as hard about building a hardware software company? And is that something that any founder could just can the incumbents just get disrupted by anybody who calls up Foxconn and says, hey, here's a CAD file, I want you to build this thing? Or is there a competency still in Six Sigma and in sort of maybe traditional quality processes? And which parts of that do you sort of do away with, and which parts do you still harness? And have you been able to fuse those things into your culture?
Yes. Okay. So great question. So yes, you can get contract manufacturing. They span the thing from they'll design it all for you to you just tell them what to do and they'll manufacture it for you, and you can go everywhere in between. That capability is growing. Sourcing's great. All of that stuff's great. At the end of the day, if you're a little startup and you're dealing with the Foxconns of the world, they don't give a shit. You're too small. The business doesn't matter. No matter how much you're going to grow, they won't care. They'll take your business and they'll give you the C- team. You're going to train all of these kids who usually didn't even come out of college yet. And you're going to train them, and you're going to work with them if you use them. So you have to know the teams you're going to, because if you're going to really outsource and you don't have a huge business, they don't really care. They'll just take it on, yeah, we'll see, we'll place a bet. It's cheap, and you're going to train our people anyway. Because what's happened over the last 20 years is we've trained almost all of them to do what they do today. And now they're coming back and competing with us. Because they're like, oh yeah, it's easy. Just like what happened with Japan, Korea, Taiwan. We train them all, we leave, then they take over the businesses from us. That's exactly what's going on in China. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen? You want to make sure you keep your IP and the things that are really necessary to be competitive outside of their hands. You do not give it to them. So test fixtures and test procedures and software for testing is incredibly hard to do. Don't give it to them. Don't give them the source. Don't go anywhere near it. We give them a black box and say, press this button, and if it lights up green, it's done. Press this button, and if it lights up red, reject that one and go rework it. So you want to keep certain IP pieces totally under wraps and not given to them. You might even do subcomponentry somewhere else where there's a lot of intricate manufacturing techniques and robots and everything else, and then just give them that one piece that's already fully assembled and tested to then continue on. So you have to understand how you're going to interact, and when you're like a Kickstarter thing or whatever else, people just think they can just throw it over the wall and it'll just happen, and it won't. Atoms are so much harder than bits because every single product we make is like a piece of art. Every single one has to be hand-tuned, how the dial feels, all that stuff. It is not easy, and we have to make millions of them. Electrons, you can copy them, make 1 million copies overnight, and they're exactly the same, right? It's not that way. All the sourcing, you're getting 4 different sources of materials for metals or whatever. They all come with different tolerances and specs. How do they get together and fit and work properly? It's much harder than that. And we have a whole team of our own people working at the contract manufacturers and the subcomponent suppliers to make sure the quality is
So
good.
then the only reason that the incumbents in this space, though, then can't, like, because if atoms are so much harder than bits, and Detroit knows how to, put together all the pieces to build a car, why is that not the hardest part of the process, and the self-driving, software and the internet connectivity, that becomes at least more marginal to the overall car production process?
Well, it will become it'll be a componentized system you can bolt on today, just like you can do for stereo equipment or nav systems. The issue is that we're in this transition away from that right now. You can't buy the modules. They know how to buy modules and install them, okay? But today you have to design all of them, and you have to design the experience at the same time. It's not the same of just bolting it on. Your car materially changes. Now they can do the manufacturing and those kinds of things, and great, and they do an amazing job. I'm always in awe. It's the most complicated consumer product in the world is an automobile. I'm always in awe. I'm daunted by if I ever had the opportunity to build one. But if you look at it, they've been module buyers. They haven't been module creators and real system creators. And that's a very, very different thing when you're creating systems. And that's why Tesla is so different than the other guys.
As you look at data and services and the positive reinforcing mechanism that you described earlier, how do you decide where to take those competencies as you build them and where to go to next? Do you try to kind of look at kind of close adjacencies around the home? Do you try to think, well, maybe this could be applied to manufacturing, this could be applied to other things? How do you think about where you take the organization over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, the big thing here is you need to worry about the ecosystem, the platform. You can design all these one-off products, and you can be a gadget maker, just like I mentioned these other companies are. But if you really want to truly do the system, you need to know when you're going to step on the gas for new products or new services, new applications. And if you looked at the kind of how iPod happened, it was hardware 1 year or 2 years, then after that it was services. And the hardware was new, but it was not, it didn't have any kind of great new features in the hardware. It just had new software to take advantage of the service features. Then at some point we came back to the hardware, and it would go round and round like that. And that's the same thing, is you have to know where you are in the gestation cycle to know where you're going to apply your resources.
Where are we right now?
Where are we right now? We're in the software phase. We're in the software phase. Software and platform phase.
So, but to the services point, and you kind of mentioned that, yeah, I mean, the thermostat, you only upgrade every 10 or 12 years, so there's got to be some other interim business model. Can you maybe just share some potential examples of what other service business models can get layered on once you have the user or the data?
So we have the energy partners business, which is rush hour rewards, which is demand response.
Okay.
We have seasonal savings.
Can you explain the demand response thing?
Demand response, very simply, companies electric companies have 20% of excess generation facilities that are only around for about 5 to 10 times a year that they turn on to get when everybody wants cold air at the same time, which is in the summer, right, in Texas and all in the Southwest. Everybody wants energy at the same time, so they have to spin up other plants to be able to supply that peak. If you can shave those peaks, so they have less transmission needs, transmission capability they need to build, less generation facilities they need to build, and less very expensive generation facilities that they could rather decommission instead of keep online, keep hot. That saves them a ton of money. You know, the cost of a kilowatt hour goes from, you know, $400, $500 to $8,000 during a peak period. So they have to usually, if they don't have the generation facilities, they have to go buy it at $8,000, but they're selling it to you as if it was $500. So they don't like that. They don't like these unexpected things, especially as the earth is warming up, right? So how can you cut that down? And through rush hour rewards, we cut out 60 to 70% of those peaks.
Wow.
So that saves them a ton of money. Our customers stay cool because it's only within a 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit that we modulate. They don't even know. The NPS is in 95, 97 in the places where we run the service.
And you just get a check cut to you?
And what they do is, it's called rush hour rewards because they get incentives. Okay. So either a per event or a per year if they're opted in. And they can control this thermostat at any time if they're not feeling good.
Can you give us a sense of what the economics are to you in terms of?
The economics to us are basically a per thermostat charge.
Okay, that's really
annual per thermostat.
Is that something that, I mean, it sounds like it has to have been a new concept to Nest, but is that, I mean, have appliance makers in the past been able to track any of that or get any of that value coming back to them?
To monetize that?
Yeah.
No, they haven't, because what's typically happened, again, the incumbents were selling the hardware directly to the utility, and then the utility says, I'm going to control it, I'm going to turn off your cooling, I'm the master, right? And we're like, that's not a balanced approach. Consumers might like the check, but they're going to hate it when they're not comfortable. And so us being the middleman and being really the advocate for the consumer has put the consumer in front of these utility companies instead of B2B companies who will just sell them anything.
Right. One of the distinct advantages you guys have is you're competing against traditionally sort of product or manufacturing or hardware companies, and you're adding a systems approach by thinking about software and data, but then you're adding even a broader systems approach with an ecosystem.
Correct.
And that I mean, there's nobody maybe not nobody, but there's very few people at Honeywell that think ecosystems. And
no, they want closed, lock-in, only Honeywell products.
So can you maybe just paint a little bit of a future,
of what that
a picture of the future for what a Nest ecosystem looks like in our just lives?
We don't have to paint. We don't have to paint a picture. It's already there.
Yes.
We have 15,000 developers, something like that, doing that today, and we have hundreds of integrations. And over 20% of our customers already use Works with Nest integrations in their home. So 20% of our customers are linking our products up to other people's products and services. So we, and that's only been a year and a half old.
Wow.
So why are we doing it? Number one, we can't build everything. We can't build every refrigerator, every washer and dryer. That's not going to happen. And almost all of those companies, because they're industrialists, they don't understand software, they don't understand services, servers, those kinds of things. They need to work with somebody.
Right.
Right? Now they could have their own standalone silo, but that's not going to work because they have to work with other people's products from other brands. So you have to find a good neutral party to put all these things together and not play favorites.
So, but then, in a sense, you turn the industrialists into the app makers of the future.
Exactly.
So, thus, they survive and everything's fine.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, great. Okay.
If they choose to embrace it.
Is anybody not embracing it?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of companies,
Oh,
and there's even utilities not embracing it.
Okay. Well, hopefully that will change.
When the PUCs make them change.
Right. Okay. Tony Fadell, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Baker.
Thank you.